Welcome to Theology Savage. We're considering a few religious terms that we find throughout the scriptures over the next week. And the first one that we come across is sin. Sin, probably the clearest definition of sin is found in 1 John chapter 3, where the Apostle John says sin is lawlessness, which begs the question, what is lawlessness? Which, of course, we have to consider what is lawfulness. And lawlessness could be understood as anything that is contrary to the law of God. Now, the law of God, as we saw in our last video about true religion, the law, if you could summarize the law in one word, that word would be love. Lovefulness would be a fulfilling of the law, and not a lovefulness in the way that we decide or define, but in a way that God reveals and commands, which of course is an expression of his nature, of who he is. And the clearest expression of the way that he's revealed what the law is and what love is found in the Ten Commandments. The first four speak of our love toward God. The last six speak of our love toward others. And sin, being lawlessness, is that which is, of course, failing to fulfill the law of love in loving God and loving neighbor perfectly. And so when John says sin is lawlessness, what he's getting at is sin is really a privation of the good. It's a lack of the good. It's a lack of love. It's a lack of goodness. It's injustice. You see that language, of course, throughout the history of the church, as many theologians have reflected upon sin and its effects. But the essence of sin is, of course, lawlessness. It's a privation of the good, of the love that God requires that we owe him and owe others who are created in God's image, and us as created by God for God's glory. And so when that does not happen, it of course is sin. So sin is a transgression or a failing to keep the law of God, which can be summarized in just one word, love, which is revealed most clearly and succinctly in the Ten Commandments, which require not just, not murdering or not stealing or not coveting, but promoting life, being generous, being content. And so that's helpful to keep in mind when sin is lawlessness. Short, succinct little statement, but there's so much behind that. And of course, lawfulness or love perfectly would be righteous. And righteousness is a huge theme throughout the scriptures. God loves righteousness. God is righteous. We read in, of course, one of Jesus' parables that there are some who thought they were righteous and trusted in themselves. And he speaks against, those kinds of people who are self-righteous or trusting in their own righteousness and not being honest about their lawlessness or sinfulness. And so we'll consider righteousness the next time we're together. Be blessed.